Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Friday live Q&A. It's Fiona Lukeis here, coming to you live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm just going to give a second for the live feed to filter through so people know that I'm here. As people start to join the live, as always, I do appreciate it when people come in and say hi. Let me know where you are and where you're listening from in the world. Always appreciate hearing where people are from. Let me see. Now I've got a few questions to get through today. I don't know if I'll get through all of them. If you have sent a question in recently, I don't get to it today, I will absolutely get to it next. Next week, which is May. We're in May next week. Can you believe that? Absolutely amazing. So, all right. Now I'm just making sure that we are live on Facebook. 1 second, guys. Yeah. Okay. It's all working. All right. Perfect. So just giving a chance for the feed to go through. Like I said, I think everything's just operating a little slowly today. So if you just joined in, feel free to say hi. And if you have a question that you would like me to ask, would you like me to answer today, please feel free to comment below. And as always, say hi. Let me know where you are listening to or listening from in the world. Okay, let me take a look at some of the questions while I'm waiting for some of you guys to join in. 1 second, everybody. Can you believe we're at the end of April? It's crazy, isn't it? All right. Right, like I said, I've got a few questions here today. Let's see if I can get through them all. If you have sent a question in very recently to me, I may need to. It may have to wait until next week. So I kind of answer questions based on the order in which they're received. So I've got one here that I'll answer shortly, but I'm just going to check and see. Hey, Graham. Oh, my goodness. I haven't heard from you for a while. I hope all is well with you. Nice to hear from you, Graham. And anybody else who is listening today on Friday, the April 25th, please feel free to say hi. It's a weird kind of a day here. It's about to start pouring here in Melbourne. So it's a bit grey and dark. So if I look like I'm in the dark, let me know. I'll turn my lights up a little bit. But yeah, the clouds it's just gone black out there. So it's about to come pouring down. Hey, Christy, thanks for saying hi. I have sent you an email. I'm not sure if you've received it, but if you have, if you haven't, please check your junk mail folder, because I did send an email in response to yours. So I just want to make sure you got hold of that. And anybody else, if you're listening out there and you want to say hi, I love to know who's out there. It seems like the feed's just taking a little while to filter through for people to know that I'm here. So I don't want to answer any questions too quickly in case you are someone who's asked that question. You just haven't got notification that the feed is here. Hey, Heidi. Hi. Nice to hear from you, honey. I hope, yeah, lovely. I hope all's well with you guys. Really nice to hear from you guys. Really, really good. And anybody else who wants to say hi? I can see there's a few more people joining us now. Okay, so maybe the live feed's filtering through. Sorry, guys. It just feels like it's been a bit slow today. So I didn't want to rush off at the gate too quickly answering some of these questions in case you are someone who sent the question through. So anyone else who wants to say hi, I do appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to start with the first question that's come through today. All right, so this is a long-ish question, so I'll do my best here. Hi, Fiona. I am living with an alcoholic. He has cheated. I know I should not be in this situation, but I've already been divorced and have struggled financially until now. He is good to my kids and he is amazing sober. We did have such a strong connection, something I have never felt before, and something I'm not sure I will feel again because I just know. At the moment, I don't actually care about finding it again anyway. Haha. But we do love doing the same things. We've made goals, etc., and just gel when it comes to all of this side of things also. But, and there's a big but here with lots of T's, he's an alcoholic that is trying, but not trying enough, and he has cheated. So I guess for me, one thing is to move on from the cheating. Now, I've been listening to your Facebook Lives and I've read a couple of books and I've been given advice, and I think I've come a long way with how I deal with when I'm triggered, but it's not enough. I am the main breadwinner due to his addiction. I have 3 kids I single-handedly provide for. Yep, their dad's I won't say the word, and it would seem I'm not good at picking. And yes, I feel like a failure for this. Plus, I provide for his kids when needed also. Whoa, okay. For me to do this, I'm working about 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have 3 full-time, part-time jobs, really. Okay. Okay. Look, there's a lot in this question that I need to speak to, or that I would like to speak to. There really is. And one of the things that I want to say is that often when people send me in a question, the problem is not necessarily always the question that's being asked. Okay. And one of my jobs is to listen for what the problem actually is. Now, I'm obviously going to read between the lines here because I've just been sending a question. I don't have any other reference point here, but just based on, I guess, my experience in this area, there's just a couple of things that I think at a higher level need to be spoken to before we deal with the fact that you're dealing with trying to deal with your partner's alcoholism. Okay, so for those of you who've just joined in, hi Sandy, thanks for saying hi. It's always really lovely to see your name popping up in the feed, Sandy. It really is. So thank you, honey. Thanks for saying hi. And anybody else who wants to say hi, I really do appreciate it. I've just read out a pretty large question. This is around someone who is living with an alcoholic, and how they deal with that. Now, I know alcoholism can be a really big problem in our relationships. And, I often have people coming to me who are either dealing with alcohol addiction or in a relationship with someone who is an alcoholic. And, one thing I do want to say is alcoholism doesn't necessarily have to be someone who is drunk flat out on a couch every night. Alcoholism is a fine line, right? A lot of people, I mean, we all, alcohol is something that gets in the way in a lot of relationships, and is something that people struggle to recognize they have an issue with in the first place. So, I'm going to suggest that this is going to be a question that many of you will probably relate to, whether it's you who's drinking too much or whether you are in a relationship with someone who is. Okay. Hey, Shani, thanks for saying hi. Nice to hear from you. It really, really is. So lovely. Thank you. And anybody else who wants to say hi, please do. So there's a couple of things I want to speak to here, and I'm going to go back and oh, hey, Sheila. Thank you so much for your kind words, honey. Hi, Fiona. I love each week's videos and the Relatable program. Thank you so much, Sheila. One of my Relatable students. I so appreciate you, and I appreciate you saying that so much. Okay, so let me just come back to this question because it's a pretty big question here. So I want to come back to the last bit of the question that was said here. I'm the main breadwinner due to his addiction. I have 3 kids I single-handedly provide for. Yep, their dads are, I won't say the word, and it would seem I'm not good at picking. And yes, I feel like a failure for this. Plus, I provide for his kids when needed also. For me to do this, I'm working about 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have 3 full-time, part-time jobs, really. Okay. All right. So like I said, there's a few things here in this question that I want to speak to. So first of all, I'm just trying to think about the best way to answer this. So just give me a second, guys. So the first thing I want to say here is the fact that you are working 3 full-time, part-time jobs and that you are providing for your own children, good for you. Like seriously, we've all got to do what we've got to do. But you're also providing for your partner's children when needed to. rings alarm bells for me. Okay. See, when you rescue somebody, and to me that's rescuing, um, there's not enough impetus for them to change. Okay, there's not enough impetus for them to change because they know that you will step in and handle things when the going gets tough. I mean, these are his children, which is absolutely his responsibility to provide for. And when you step in and do that, it doesn't give the person enough room, space, discomfort, pain point to actually change. This is very, very, very important. So, and again, I don't know enough about this, so I'm gonna be doing a bit of assuming here, and I understand and appreciate that. But you are rescuing this person, and when you get caught up in the rescue cycle, what happens is everybody loses respect for each other. What you're sort of saying to the other person is inadvertently, and we do this because we're looking for love and connection and all of those things, but we're kind of looking for it in an unhealthy direction. When you rescue somebody, you create a drama cycle, you get caught up in a drama cycle and nobody wins. It just goes from one toxic space to another. Okay. And, the rescuer is someone who feels generally undervalued, underappreciated, resentful. They get caught up in martyrdom, and they kind of, they rush in to do something, but then don't ever get the acknowledgement that they're looking for, or appreciation, or if they do, it's very short-lived. And what happens is when you go in to rescue someone, the person that you're rescuing tends to perpetually feel like a victim. Okay. Now, when we perpetually feel like a victim, we start to live in a state of hopelessness and helplessness. When we live in a state of hopelessness and helplessness, we don't get access to the thinking that we need, the insights that we need, and the level of wisdom and awareness that we need to create change. And we don't tend to get access to enough of that impetus and momentum required to create long-term sustainable change. And what tends to happen is when you go in to rescue someone, what you're inadvertently and innocently saying, and I want to emphasize the words inadvertently and innocently saying, I want to emphasize that you are the innocence behind that, okay? But really what you're saying to that person is, I don't really believe you can do it. I don't think you've got the goods. So you overfunction, okay? So you are way over functioning here, honey. Way, 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 to your own detriment, to your partner's detriment, to the detriment of the relationship. Please don't hear this as fault. I don't believe in fault. I don't believe in right or wrong. There's just levels of understanding and levels of misunderstanding in life, okay? So I'm speaking to the level of understanding you're operating at from here, okay? So you are way over functioning, which is creating this drama cycle of you rescuing, your partner being in a perpetual state of victimhood. And then really what happens when we're in a state of victimhood is we become quite, we tend to feel disempowered. And the quickest way to get your power back when you feel disempowered is to become to move to a kind of a place of aggression, or move to the position of aggressor. Okay, so you've got the rescuer, the victim, and the aggressor. It's almost like a triangular shape. And so the aggressor shows their form of aggression in lots of different ways. It can be passive aggressiveness, it can be verbally abusive, it can be withdrawing and shutting down. Withdrawing of love is very aggressive, okay? And it can obviously be physical. It comes with a lack of respect of boundaries, a lack of appreciation, and in many different ways and forms, okay? And the person they tend to take that out on is the rescuer. And then when they do that, you become the victim, and then it moves around in this triangular shape. So the very first thing is, this is the very first thing, in my opinion, that needs to happen here is you've got to look at your overfunctioning here, because when you overfunction, the other person will always underfunction. And the more you overfunction, the more they underfunction. And so over functioning becomes addictive in of itself. And here is why, because the busier you are, honey, the less you have to think about your situation, right? The more you are distracting yourself from the situation, the more you are distracting yourself from the pain of the situation. Okay. So, and I speak this to any of you who are in a situation that isn't, where you know in your heart of hearts is not serving you. All right. And you know that in your heart of hearts, if you're in a situation that is not serving you and you are over functioning in that situation, you are distracting yourself from the fact that you're in a situation that's no longer serving you. All right. So, you know, ways in which we distract ourselves is we become super, super, super busy. Okay. Busyness is a distraction. You know, when you're busy, you don't really have time to think, and therefore you don't have time to feel. Okay. And if we're not thinking or feeling, we tend to become, really what starts to happen is we become asleep at the wheel of our own life. We are walking through life asleep to our own potential, asleep to what wisdom is tapping us on the shoulder and pointing us to, asleep to our own well-being. And please hear me, I say this with love and respect. There is no judgment in what I'm saying here. I myself have been asleep at the wheel in my own life. Okay. I myself was in a relationship a long time ago now, which is the very reason why I now do what I do, that did not serve me, where I was in an abusive situation and I had to flee with 2 very young children. And so I understand. Okay. I myself was rescuing. I myself was over functioning. So, you know, there is no judgment on where I'm speaking from here, but I'm pointing out that this needs to be dealt with first. And the alcoholism that you're dealing with your partner is secondary to this. It's the secondary issue. It's not the main issue here. The main issue here is the fact that you are over functioning, you are rescuing, you are, I'm going to say, so busy that you don't have time to think about how you're feeling and what your experience is. And I'm going to guess that you work super, super hard. You don't have time to think. You're dealing with your own children and his. Working all of those jobs, you get to the end of the day, you collapse in a heap and you go to sleep and you start again. And you know what? No time to think, no time to feel. So it's like moving through life like a robot. Okay. It's survival mode. I'm going to suggest that you're in survival mode, honey. You got to get out of survival mode so that you can see the forest for the trees. And in order to do that, number one, you have got to stop over functioning. You have got to stop rescuing your partner. Okay. He has to start facing his own responsibilities and the consequences of that. This is super, super, super important. When you are rescuing people, anyone who's rescuing out there, you are not enabling people to actually get a sense of what they're capable of in life. So people don't get to face their stuff. You know, have you not noticed that? Like, for all of you, if you were to look at your own life, it's when you've fallen flat on your face, when you faced your worst fears, when you face the consequences of your actions, and you found a way forward, that you've actually gathered an inner strength in yourself that you didn't know that you had. And you look back and you see those things as the making of you, right? If you were to actually take a moment and see that for yourself, every single person here has had an experience of that. Because this is part of evolving, right? We are either repeating or evolving. And you, beautiful lady that I'm speaking to, who sent this question in, beautiful soul that you are repeating, repeating, repeating. Okay. And this is why it is so incredibly painful. And this will be one of the reasons why your partner is not expanding, because you are repeating. And in life, and this is just true of every single person on the planet, because this is part of the journey of being human and it's unavoidable, is there will come a time in your life, and I'm sure for many of you already, okay, and it will happen again, where you will get to a point where you will see that you are repeating, repeating, repeating. Okay. And the pain of repeating will eventually get to a point where you can't do it anymore. And then you'll have one of two choices. You get to that fork in the road moment where you see that you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And the pain of that becomes too much. All right. And this is where we all have these fork in the road moments. And the fork in the road moment is you either evolve and do something different, or you numb yourself down enough that you can deal with the repeating for a bit longer. Okay? You numb yourself down enough that you can do with the repeating a bit longer. And there are various ways in which we numb ourselves down. All right. Booze is one of them. Alcohol, drugs, addiction, pornography, drama. Okay. Busyness. There's lots of ways in which we numb ourselves down. All right. Lots of ways in which we do that, where we self-soothe so that we can handle the pain of repeating. Yes. And again, I say this with no judgment. I truly don't. I'm just saying it how it is. Okay. And so you get to this point where you get called to evolve. Everybody does. Everybody does. And in that moment, you're either going to face your stuff and do what you need to do and look at it and get some help, some assistance, whatever that might be, or you're going to say, that's too scary. That's too confronting. I can't deal with that. Okay. And I'm going to do whatever I can to numb myself down so that I can continue repeating. Now, you may not use that exact language, but I want you to know that's exactly what is going on. Now, we've all done it. I've done it. Like I said, no judgment here. I've done it where I was repeating, and I got the call to evolve and I ignored it because it was scary and overwhelming and confronting and all of those things. But I want you to know these moments of unease that you experience, where you may say to yourself, and there may be a voice in your head, is this as good as it gets? Is this it for me? Is this all there is? It'll sound something like that. If you are having that voice in your head, I can just about guarantee you that you are repeating, right? And you're ignoring the call to evolve. You are repeating. Now, again, I really want you to know this, guys. I say this with no judgment. I'm just trying to point out to you what's going on. So that tapping on the shoulder, that sense of unease, that's wisdom. That's your higher self saying, "Hey, human, what are you doing?" Right? Okay. We're kind of been in this situation for a long time. You're going around and around. What are you going to do about that? And for many of you, reaching out and getting help and admitting that there's a problem is the first step. Right? I get that. And I know it can feel scary and overwhelming. And then it's like, okay, where do I go from there? Because there is only so long that you can numb yourself down for. Truly, there is. Where the calling to evolve, to face this, will get stronger and 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 stronger until one day you will just turn around and go, that's it, I can't do it anymore. Okay? So, this happens to us all. And I'm sure for many of you, and in fact, I would say, pretty much everyone who is on this live, who've been alive long enough, right? You've come to that point, that fork in the road. And so for this lady who sent this question in, you are at that fork in the road, and right now you're repeating. So this has to be the first thing that you have to look at, right? And then that your husband's alcoholism and what's going on there and the level of the relationship is secondary to that, because I'm going to say that is a reflection of this, right? This moment or this point where you are over functioning, they are under functioning, where you are at this point in time. And again, I appreciate I'm working off an assumption here just based on a question that's been sent in, where you are in this point of time distracting yourself, keeping yourself so busy that you don't have to think or feel anything. And the moment where you are where you get that little tap that's going, hey, what are you doing? Hang on, we've got to do something about this. This is when your intellectual, analytical mind comes in and says, you know what? It's not that bad. Right? It's not that bad. When he's sober, we're actually pretty good. Life's okay. And then you get the little tap that says, but he's not trying hard enough. He's not putting enough effort in, right? And then you get that, and this is what I want you to see. This is what, whether some of you listening can recognize this within yourself. Then your analytical, intellectual mind comes in and says, oh, that's okay. Because when he's sober, when he hasn't had so much to drink, he's actually pretty good to the kids. And so you'll find yourself justifying. And again, I really, not saying there's anything wrong with this. I just want to point out what's going on here. So for you, this is the first thing you need to look at. The overfunctioning, the fact that you are repeating, and the fact that you are rescuing. And what are you going to do about that? That's the first thing you want to look at, honey. And then from there, the alcoholism is secondary. I really hope that helps. But that is where I would be starting with you, all right, in that question. Really great question. I appreciate the courage it took to ask it. And I'm sure it's going to be helpful to other people listening to this live, because you are not alone with that one, all right? Not at all. There are a lot of people who overfunction and then find themselves in a relationship with someone who underfunctions. And, one thing I want to say, in addition to what I have just talked about, I want to talk about partnership for a second, okay? If you are in a relationship with someone where you are expressing a concern, now, obviously, those of you who've been following me for a while will know that I mean the space that you come from is really important when you express anything. And this is our biggest blind spot. And you kind of got to be really clean about that. And you got to know where you are space-wise, the space that you're coming from when you are addressing your concerns. Okay, so if you're addressing a concern from a space of resentment, martyrdom, self-righteousness, arrogance, you're going to evoke a certain response in the other person. All right. But if you are addressing a concern from a place of neutrality and calm and openness, now a lot of people can't tell where they are in regards to that. Okay. So, but if you are addressing a concern from that space and you are not, you're not getting inroads with the other person. Something that I just want to talk about here for a second is the pillars of partnership. I talk about the pillars of partnership in my Relatable program, but I'm just going to give you a quick mini lesson on it here. All right. So the pillars of partnership in a relationship are based on two things. Number one, that you are interested in your partner's concern. Okay. You are interested in your partner's concern. So, for example, if you're in a relationship and your partner is saying to you, you're drinking too much, or you're losing your temper too much with the kids, or I'm worried about the fact that you're not eating properly, or I feel concerned about the person that you are messaging on Facebook, or anything like that, right? I'm just going to talk about general concerns. If your partner is saying that to you and you are not listening and you're telling them not to be ridiculous and I'm not doing that and it's not a big deal and I don't know what your problem is, you are not interested in their concern, right? I'm just going to flat out tell you that. You're not interested in their concern. Now, the minute you are not interested in someone's concern, you are not in partnership. And this is very, very damaging for goodwill. Very. You can destroy goodwill. Goodwill's like a balloon, right? It takes a little while to blow a balloon up, but one prick and the balloon's popped. That's kind of like goodwill. So, once you build it, it's beautiful. It builds on its own. It's like, as I said, compounding interest. It gets more and more in depth, thicker, richer, more delicious over time. But, you can very quickly deflate goodwill. And a great way to do that is not being interested in your partner's concern. Okay. Now, the second pillar of partnership is doing what's best for the greater good. So doing what's best for the greater good of the relationship, as opposed to always doing what's best for the greater good of you. All right. Very, very important things that need to be happening. So another thing I want to add to that question that was just asked is there's no partnership here. Okay. There is no partnership here. And that also needs to be addressed. All right. But that's a secondary thing to the overfunctioning and rescuing that's going on here. All right. I hope that this makes sense to people. If anyone wants to give me some feedback on what I've just shared, because it's very important, I'd really appreciate it. If what I'm saying is resonating with you and you're hearing something that's helpful, I very, very much appreciate any comments that you have around that. Okay. Hey, Brian. Nice to see you here as always. As always, Brian. Hey, Susan. Hello. Hi. Thanks for jumping on. And hi, Mairead. Thank you. Thank you for saying hi. I really appreciate it. Brian, I did a really big chat around wisdom in the latest Relatable call on Wednesday night. Really, really big chat around it. So I'd listen to that recording because I don't think you're on the call. We talked a lot about wisdom and the way it shows up and how it looks and how it appears in a number of different situations. It was a really good call about that, actually. So and that's something. Post that in the Relatable members group because then that will generate a great conversation. Okay. Now, okay, so this is making sense, Susan. Okay, you're making perfect sense as usual. Thank you, Susan. You're very kind. You're very kind. Hi, Paul. Welcome. First one you've watched live? Okay, great. Well, I hope it's helpful to you, Paul. I really do. Okay, so just going to go on to the second question that has been asked here. And I probably won't get time to answer any more than this second question. Okay. Hi, Fiona. I tune into your Q&A every week, though a week later, and find it so helpful. So thank you for sharing your wisdom so freely. I hope you can help me. My husband and I have been living separately for 9 months as we were stuck in an endless cycle of disconnection, and I was fed up, so I moved out. We've remained in contact as I'd always hoped we'd reunite. Our goodwill has improved a lot, but I still feel I'm doing most of the work. He says he wants us to get back together, but he's very unsure and won't commit. He says he's still confused. He was very hurt by my moving out, and it feels like I'm still being punished. I wonder if it's worth pursuing the relationship or should I let him go? Look, the reason I'm hesitating here is to be able to answer your question of whether it's worth pursuing the relationship or should you let him go is only a question you can answer, honey. All right. I can't answer that one for you. I really can't. And I don't know how long you've been together, and I don't know what you've done to improve things, whether you've done any counseling or what you've. So there's a lot of questions that I don't have an answer to here. And I think it's something you've got to check into your heart of hearts. If you love this person and you'd really like to make it work, then you've got to be, then I think anything's worth pursuing. The other thing is, relationships can turn around very quickly. If you are coming from the right space, particularly if you have the understanding I teach, I'm just going to say it, I see this with my students all the time, relationships turning around that looked hopeless, that looked past the point of no return. People learn this understanding, and all of a sudden their whole energy changes, their flavor changes, the way they connect changes, and the other person's self-defense mechanism drops, and all of a sudden they bring their best foot forward, and all of a sudden you start to see the things that you fell in love with the other person, the reason why you reached out to them in the first place, the things that you actually love, like they start bringing the best of themselves, you start bringing the best of you, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, hello, I haven't seen you for a while. This is the person that I remember you, right? Oh, I remember what I love about you. Oh, I love that. And you start building beautiful depths of goodwill, right? You start doing that with another human being, and you can turn things around really quickly. I mean, I got to say, I really do feel a lot of relationships break down because people just get stuck in a toxic cycle. They don't know how to move forward. They don't know what to do. And so it just seems easier to walk away because they don't have any kind of option on how to move forward. They don't have a pathway. They can't see any ability to create change. It just seems like you go around in this loop, like a big figure eight, where you just become a mirror image of each other. And so I do think most relationships break down due to that feeling of hopelessness and helplessness that we get stuck in. We get stuck in a rut of, and then we just give up and we walk away. Okay, so you've got to get quiet with yourself, check in and say, do you really love this person? And the question you have to ask yourself as well, and I think this is true of anybody who's considering leaving a relationship, you have to have a good, honest, reflective look at yourself. And being reflective is something people really struggle with. You've got to have a good, honest, reflective look at yourself and say, have I done everything I could or everything I can to turn this around? Have I done that? Right? Now, if you've just read a book, then I'm going to tell you haven't. Okay? Reading a book is not going to cut it. If you've done some counseling with someone who knows what they're doing, and you've been honest with yourself, and you've done some work on yourself, then perhaps you're more likely to say yes. But a lot of people make these decisions. They've read a couple of books, they've watched a couple of videos. That's not working on yourself, guys. That's not doing everything you can. That's a kind of a safe, easy option. That's like going to the gym and lifting a couple of weights and saying I'm working out. Like, it's not really the same thing. So you have to be really honest with yourself and say, have I done everything I can? Now, I understand that you might be feeling like, oh, I'm the one doing all the work here, and I can appreciate that feeling of that you're the only one doing all the work. But you know what? There's something magical when, especially when you find the right thing for you. And I've had a lot of people who've done my relatable program because they're wanting to fix or change a relationship, and they've been in a lot of pain when they've started the program, and they've said, and we talk about this a lot. My goodness, Fiona, I came here because I had this thing that was not working in my life, but I've discovered so much more, and I'm actually grateful for the fact that the relationship was like this, because I would never have come across this. I would never have learnt what I've learned here, and I've gotten so much more than I ever imagined from doing this, and I would never have done this if this hadn't have happened. Okay, so there's often, I guess, gifts inside things that we don't see, is I guess what I'm saying. And so you can go to do something because you want to change something, but the gift that's waiting for you there can be so much more than you ever bargained or imagined. So if you are someone who feels like you're doing all the work, first thing I want to say to yourself is, are you doing something that's effective? And are you doing something more than just reading a book or watching a video, because that's not doing the work? And are you seeing someone that's actually making a difference, right? So when you do, the gifts in that for you are massive. When I came across this understanding, as many of you know, my relationship, I had actually said to my husband, I want a separation. That's where we were. We were that far down the pathway. And, I was doing this for a living. I had a full-time practice helping people in relationships. I was doing this, and my marriage was struggling. And I was operating from a different kind of modality than what I do now. And, that's a whole other story in of itself. But, I remember saying to my husband, we have nothing in common. I can't relate to you. I just feel so disconnected from you. I can't see a pathway forward. And about 2 days later, I came across this and I realized I'd found something pretty special. And from there, have dedicated my life to teaching this, living from this space, and sharing it with as many people as possible. Hence why I created Relatable, and all of the things that I do. And the difference in my marriage is we're about to be 19 years married this year, and we were 6.5 years in when I came across this. And we just get better and better and closer and closer. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm the one that's done this. My husband has not. So you could argue I've done all the work, right? But I have gotten so much more than I could ever have possibly imagined. As I say to people, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And so I'm more than happy to be the one that's looked in this direction, because what it has changed in my life around how the space that I show up from, my level of well-being, my sense of calm, connectedness, groundedness, my ability to let go of things, to be present, to listen. I mean, I could go on and on with the way this has showed up in my life. And then obviously the ripple effects of that in my marriage, with my children, with my family, with all sorts of things. Like, greatest thing that's ever happened to me. So, I guess it depends on how you look at these things. Okay. So, anyway, hey Sheila, that's so true. And I guess I'm going to say that you're referring to my comment of you come into Relatable, for example, because I know Sheila's doing Relatable, and you find something that is more than you ever imagined. So yes, that's right. People often say that. So thanks for validating that, Sheila. I do appreciate it. Hey Cecilia, nice to see you, honey. Really, really, really lovely to see you, as always. Okay, everybody. So we are coming up to the end of the live. So there's another couple of questions here that I will have to, if I didn't answer your question today, I will answer them next week. If you do have a question that you would like me to answer, you can send an email to hello@fionalukeis.com.au and I will answer it for you. If you would like to know more about my Relatable program, I'm going to put a link down below where you can book a time to have a chat with me and I can answer your questions, and you can find out all about it. So I'll put that a link there. So feel free to book a time if you would like to know more about Relatable. I'm more than happy to share it with you. It's an amazing, wonderful program that students all over the world we have the most amazing conversations, and my students absolutely love it. It's my heart and joy, and everything goes into that program. So I'm more than happy to share the details of that with you. And otherwise, I will see you next Friday at 12:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Lots and lots of love to you all. Thank you so much, Sandy. Thank you so much, Sheila. See you all next week. Take care now. Bye.